The Girl and the Beast. The Orthian research platform floated in orbit like a shard of glass against the gas giant's glow. Its laboratories were quiet at this hour, the hum of containment fields and the faint thrum of life support systems the only sounds. Inside Base 6, three figures stood before a curved wall of reinforced crystal. Behind that barrier, the apex predator paced. Its name in the databanks was Orthian Strider. 6 limbs, plated with bone, a serpentine tail that scraped along the steel floor. It moved with unsettling grace, claws tapping in rhythm, golden eyes fixed on the observation deck. Each breath sent a shiver of mist across its jagged teeth. Dr. Lyrith, lead xenobiologist, adjusted the spectral monitors. His gray frills stiffened with satisfaction as the sedation readings climbed. Vitals dropping, heart rate normalizing. You see, Kelshin, perfect dosage. The security officer snorted. His scaled arms crossed over his chest, talons clicking softly. It looks harmless already. I've seen hatchlings back home more aggressive than that. Kelshin's ridged snout turned toward the human girl, standing near the edge of the viewing deck. Isn't this from your planet, Mara? Mara didn't answer at first. She was slight compared to the towering aliens, hair falling across one side of her face, the faint sheen of her skin catching the glow of the monitors. Her lips curved into a small, unreadable smile. Yes, she said finally, her voice soft. I grew up seeing them. Kelshin gave a low, amused trill. And yet you smile, little Deathworlder. Are they not terrifying to you? She didn't look at him. Her eyes remained locked on the Strider. You don't look at them with terror, she murmured. That's how you live long enough to see another day. Lyrith chuckled, adjusting another dial. The station council was worried when we asked for a human consultant. I told them it was unnecessary. We've studied hundreds of predators. With proper containment, even apex species are manageable. Mara's smile lingered, though something in her gaze tightened. Containment means nothing to them if you misunderstand what they are. Kelshin snorted again. It's behind reinforced crystal. There's a triple field buffer. Nothing to misunderstand. He tapped the heavy plating with his claw. You might be from a death world, Mara, but you're on a station now. Safe as a nursery. The predator prowled closer to the glass. Its claws clicked, then stopped. It lowered itself, belly close to the floor, muscles rippling under black hide. It watched them through the glass, and its golden eyes narrowed. Mara inhaled slowly, the corners of her mouth curling again. Not amusement this time. Something sharper. She whispered, almost to herself, watch its breathing. Lyrith tilted his head, crest fluttering. Breathing? Count the rhythm, she said softly. On my world, when they stop breathing, you stop moving. Kelshin barked a laugh. Superstitions. The human mind likes stories. Mara finally turned to him, expression unreadable. Stories keep you alive where I come from. Lyrith frowned at the data readouts. Sedation holding. Respiration steady, wait. He leaned closer, tapping the glass with one long finger. It's slowing. Excellent. The compound is efficient. Mara didn't speak. Her hands rested loosely behind her back. Her weight shifted slightly toward the bulkhead door. The faint light above the monitor flicked from green to amber. The predator's pacing ceased. It crouched perfectly still, head low, tail coiled tightly against its body. The lab fell into a hush. Even Kelshin's smirk faded. Lyrith muttered, interesting, it's conserving energy. Perhaps the sedation is deeper than anticipated. Mara's smile deepened, though her eyes darkened. It's not conserving energy, she said. It's deciding. Lyrith glanced at her sharply. Deciding? These are instinctive creatures. No, Mara said, still watching the beast. Not this one. They don't stop moving unless they have a reason. On the chrono display at the corner of the observation deck, the time flickered, 2:01. The Strider's eyes snapped toward Mara. Its chest rose once, then held. Mara tilted her head slightly, smile still carved on her lips. Kelshin whispered, it's staring at you. Yes, Mara replied softly. It knows me. The alien officers exchanged uneasy glances. The beast had gone silent, every muscle locked, as if carved from stone. Even the ambient hum of the containment field seemed louder now, pulsing against the quiet. And still Mara stood there, calm, smiling faintly at the glass, as the clock ticked forward into the dangerous. A predator's silence. The chrono on the upper screen ticked from 2:02 to 2:03. In base 6, no one moved. The Strider crouched motionless on the other side of the glass, a dark statue bathed in pale blue light. Its plated sides no longer rose or fell. The sedation monitor registered a steady heartbeat, but no visible respiration. Kelshin broke the silence first. His talons clicked nervously on the railing as he squinted at the readings. "It's not breathing," he muttered, glancing toward Lyrith. "Is that normal?" Lyrith adjusted the monitor with an irritated flick of his claws. "It is likely in a catatonic state. Our compound is designed to induce deep metabolic slowdown. The animal is stable." He forced a thin smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Do not let the human frighten you with tales." Mara said nothing. Her arms hung loose at her sides now, no longer folded neatly behind her back. Her smile hadn't changed, but her eyes never left the Strider. Kelshin stepped closer to the glass, peering at the still shape. The Predator's golden eyes remained open, focused. Too focused. "Stable creatures close their eyes," he whispered. "This thing it's watching." Lyrith bristled, pulling up another overlay. "The sensors do not lie. See here? Heart rate steady, brain activity low. No signs of aggression." But even as he spoke, the heart rate trace on the screen began to flutter. Tiny spikes, quickening like drumbeats. Kelshin hissed. "That's not low activity." Mara finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's a pattern. They do that when they're planning. They slow everything down to think." Lyrith shot her an exasperated look. "Humans insist on mysticism. This is a beast. It does not think." Mara turned her head slightly, eyes still locked on the Strider. "You caught it alive, didn't you? How many hunters did it kill first?" Lyrith hesitated, frills tightening against his neck. "8. But we assumed." "You assumed wrong," Mara cut in quietly. "You didn't catch it. It let you." Kelshin swiveled toward her, uneasy. "What are you saying?" She didn't answer. Instead, she took one slow step back toward the door. The Strider's tail twitched. Kelshin's pupils narrowed to slits. "Lyrith, did you see?" "Residual nerve response," Lyrith insisted, though his claws trembled as he adjusted the sedation levels again. "I will increase dosage." On the chrono, the time flicked to 2:04. The monitor chimed, flat, insistent. No breathing detected. Kelshin stumbled back from the glass. "It's dead." Mara shook her head, almost pitying. "No." The Predator's golden eyes dilated. The plates along its spine shuddered once, and then it stilled again, as if testing the air. Its jaws parted slowly, not in a breath, but in a silent snarl. A ripple of tension ran through the room. Lyrith hissed a command to the interface, dropping the containment temperature. "Cool the chamber." "Induce torpor." The airlocks hummed, but Mara was already moving, walking, not running, toward the emergency release panel by the door. Her smile remained, though her voice was calm and precise. "Do you know what happens," she asked quietly, "when a predator stops breathing?" Kelshin backed toward the railing. "It sleeps." Mara's eyes flicked to him, and for the first time there was no smile, only steel. "It hunts." The predator shifted its weight, claws flexing against the steel floor with a screeching rasp. Cracks began to spiderweb across the reinforced crystal. A thin trickle of coolant misted along the seams as the structural support strained. Kelshin cursed and grabbed for his sidearm. Containment integrity dropping. Lyrith froze, transfixed by the spectacle, torn between scientific fascination and primal fear. "Impossible," the glasses rated. Crack. The sound echoed like a gunshot. A jagged fissure ripped down the viewing pane. The Predator's gaze locked on the movement of Kelshin's weapon, head tilting with deliberate intent. Mara's hand hovered over the emergency door. "If you run now," she said, voice still soft, "it will chase you. If you freeze, it might not see you. Those are the rules." Kelshin's breath came fast. What are you doing? We have to. Listen to me, Mara said. Stay. Still. Lyritha's frills flared wide, panic overwhelming his disbelief. We must call security. Another crack bloomed across the glass. A long claw tip punched through, spraying shards into the room. Kelshin raised his weapon, only to see Mara step in front of him, her eyes never leaving the predators. I told you, she murmured as the chrono beeped softly in the background. If it stops breathing, you stop moving. Breach at 206. The first shard hit the floor with a crystalline ping. Then the sound became a rain of fractures. SKKRTCHH, as the containment glass split like ice under pressure. Kelshin's talons clenched around his sidearm. Lyrith shields. Activate secondary shields. But Lyritha's frills were flattened in terror, his claws flying over the console. System's not responding. It's bypassing field integrity. How? The Strider's forelimbs pressed against the web of cracks. The reinforced pain groaned, every alien on the deck feeling the vibration in their chest cavities. The creature's golden eyes never wavered, fixed on the smallest movement, the twitch of Kelshin's gun arm. Mara moved first, not to fight, not to flee, but to intercept. She stepped between Kelshin and the glass, her slender figure a silhouette against the predator's massive shape. Her smile returned, thin and sharp as a blade. Stop moving, she said again, her voice low, steady, commanding. Kelshin froze in place, confusion and fear flickering in his eyes. Lyrith hissed, we must run. Protocol says. You'll die in the corridor, Mara said without looking at him. It hunts motion. Smell comes later. Sight first. The predator's tail lashed, a blur of dark sinew, and the glass screamed under the impact. A fracture line raced across the upper panel. The chrono above the door read 205. Mara inhaled slowly. The rhythm of her breath was deliberate, matching the way the creature would have stalked prey on Orthian's surface. She tilted her head and began to hum, a soft, toneless melody that rose and fell like wind through the dead forests of her homeworld. Kelshin whispered, What are you doing? Distraction, Mara said. It's not soundless, it listens. The Strider's head shifted, tilting toward the sound, away from the motionless aliens. Its claws scraped back from the cracks, its attention narrowing, curious. But only for a moment. The ceiling lights flickered as the containment's backup power surged. The sudden flash of brightness was movement enough. The Strider struck. With a sound like thunder, the pane gave way. Jagged shards spun into the air, raining across the deck. Kelshin stumbled backward, instinct screaming at him to run. Lyrith shrieked and bolted toward the corridor. Mara moved fast. She lunged, grabbing Kelshin's shoulder and yanking him low as a massive claw swiped where his head had been. The strike shattered a support railing, sparks spitting across the floor. Down, Mara barked, her human voice cutting through the alarms. She shoved Kelshin toward the shadowed corner, then snatched up a fallen containment rod, long, heavy, humming with residual charge. The Strider's head darted through the opening, jaws snapping, rows of teeth gnashing metal like paper. Lyritha's fleeing form caught its attention, and the creature lunged. No, Mara roared. She vaulted onto a side console, rod in hand, and slammed it against the wall. The sharp clang reverberated through the bay. The Strider froze mid-pounce, golden eyes swiveling toward the new motion and sound. Lyrith stumbled through the bulkhead, just as the predator shifted direction. Mara gritted her teeth and leapt from the console to the railing, balancing with uncanny grace. She slammed the rod again, deliberately drawing its focus. Kelshin stared in disbelief. You're taunting it? Mara didn't look back. Buy us time. Get the emergency seals online. The Strider lunged toward her, but she was already moving, running along the railing like a dancer, sliding under a swinging limb, then hurling herself toward the maintenance shaft. She struck another panel with the rod, opening a grating just wide enough. The predator followed, claws gouging the deck, tail whipping in fury. It slammed into a cluster of storage crates, scattering them like toys. Sparks cascaded as Mara ducked into the maintenance shaft, the rod clattering behind her as bait. Kelshin forced himself upright, bolting to the nearest control station. His talons flew over the keys, overriding emergency protocols, slamming bulkhead seals into place. Red warning glyphs flared across the bay walls. The Strider roared, an ear-splitting, guttural sound that vibrated in bone. It thrust its head toward the shaft opening, sniffing, jaws snapping. But the movement was too fast, the scent too faint. Mara was already deeper inside, crawling through the narrow dark, counting her breaths, feeling the predator's hunting rhythm echo in her memory. Kelshin watched the beast wheel around, scanning for motion. He dared not twitch. His heart pounded, but he forced himself still, as Mara had ordered. Slowly, the predator's head turned back toward the shaft. Mara's voice echoed from within, calm despite the chaos. "Keep sealing the bay. I'll lead it deeper." Kelshin's hands trembled over the panel. You can't fight that thing alone." "I don't have to," Mara said, her voice fading as she crawled deeper. "I just have to outthink it." The chrono above the door beeped again. 2:06. The predator bellowed and lunged into the shaft after her, its tail thrashing, its body scraping sparks along the metal walls. Kelshin slammed his hand on the final seal, watching the emergency bulkheads begin to close, praying they'd shut before the Strider returned. And in the echoing dark of the maintenance tunnels, Mara smiled again. Smiles and survival. The bay was chaos when the bulkhead sealed with a heavy clang. Sirens wailed through the research platform, red glyphs strobing across every wall. Smoke and coolant mist filled the air, acrid and choking. Kelshin stumbled against a support beam, sidearm still clutched in shaking hands. His scales were scraped raw from flying shards. Behind the sealed maintenance shaft, the muffled roars of the Strider echoed, guttural, furious. Metal screeched as it thrashed deeper into the tunnels. "Mara!" Kelshin shouted into the haze. "You're still in there. Fall back. Fall back." No answer came. Through the fog, Dr. Lyrith appeared, limping, frills plastered tight against his neck. His claws trembled over a datapad. I've initiated emergency sterilization," he stammered. "If we can vent the shaft to vacuum, we might." "No," Kelshin snarled, shoving him. "She's still inside. She's human." Lyrith hissed, raw panic cracking his voice. "You saw what that thing can do. She's already." A clang interrupted him. A hatch further down the corridor hissed open. Mara stepped through. Her face was streaked with grime and blood, her dark hair matted to her cheeks. She moved with a measured calm that looked unnatural after what they just witnessed. In her right hand, she still carried the containment rod, bent almost in half, its end scorched and smoking. She was smiling. Kelshin's jaw dropped. "You got out?" "Not yet," she said. Her voice was steady, low, but there was a rasp in it now. "It's trapped in the maintenance web. For now." Lyrith stared at her, horrified and fascinated. "You faced it. You fought it." Mara wiped a smear of blood from her chin with the back of her hand, eyes distant. "You don't fight them. You survive them." She walked toward them slowly, like someone carrying a heavy thought. Kelshin grabbed her arm. "How did you?" She shook her head. "You don't want to know how. You want to know why I'm still breathing." Her smile tilted, wry tired. "Because I grew up learning what they taught me. To move when it's time, and to stop when the world demands it." Behind the sealed hatch, the predator's roars continued, but they were weaker now, more distant. It was still hunting, but it hadn't found her. Lyrith's claws trembled as he gestured to the datapad. This defies every recorded analysis. Our reports said the Orthian Strider was a simple carnivore. Yet you claim. They aren't simple, Mara said. They're old. Older than our cities, older than our stories. Where I come from, we watched them from the trees. We thought they didn't think until we saw them stop breathing. Kelshin's tail flicked nervously, but we caught it. It was helpless. Mara finally looked at him, eyes dark and knowing. "No, it let you catch it, because it wanted to see how you hunt." The words hung heavy in the corridor. Alarms still pulsed, but no one moved. Lyrith backed away from her, frills trembling. We have to destroy it. Burn this bay. Vent every tunnel. Nothing that plans like that can stay on a station. Mara's smile faded. Do that if you want. But remember, she took a slow breath, steadying herself. It isn't the only one out there. Kelshin's chest tightened. He could feel the weight of what she meant. Orthian below them was vast, teeming with life none of them truly understood. They had thought themselves apex observers, scientists standing above primitive beasts. Now they knew better. Mara dropped the broken containment rod with a clatter. Log your findings. File your reports. But next time, she said softly, looking back toward the hatch where the predator still screamed. When a Deathworlder tells you to stay still, you stay still. She turned to leave, limping slightly, but still moving with that same unsettling grace. Her hand brushed the door panel. The bulkhead slid open, spilling cold station air over the scorched corridor. Kelshin called after her. Mara, why were you smiling? She paused in the doorway, the light outlining her figure. Slowly, she turned her head, just enough for them to see her expression. The faintest curve of her lips returned, calm, sharp, unreadable. Because, she said, I was the only one in this room who understood the rules. Then she walked away, leaving the smoke, the alarms, and two shaken aliens staring after her, understanding at last why humans from Deathworld were never just observers.